What was I seeing last read through? There's still a lot of stuff that needs to be done. So I'm trying to be a little bit more organized with draft 3. So that's why I'm doing this chapter by chapter revision checklist. Reread and annotate my hunting memoir with me. Hi, hello, welcome. If you're new here, my name's Araya Rasmussen, and I'm currently revising my hunting memoir, which I have temporarily titled The Adventures of an Outfitter's Daughter. I am wanting to pursue traditional publishing, so that title, you know, might not stick, but that is where I'm at with that. Today, I just wanted to take you, actually this weekend, I just wanted to take you guys through my process of rereading draft 2 and starting my revision and hopefully finishing my revision checklist for draft 3. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with everything. I have taken kind of a big break with my writing and everything, so that's kind of slowed me down because I did finish draft 2 like March 29th, March 30th, somewhere in there. So I haven't really done too much, and it is like June 7th, I think? Yeah, June 7th. I am just now like cracking down and doing stuff. Well, actually a couple weeks ago I did re-outline and I started a renewed timeline as well. It has helped a lot, and I think my book obviously really needed it. A beta reader pointed out some things, and another one pointed out some like legality stuff with it being a memoir, which was my mom. She was, you know, pointing out certain things that I should probably not mention in there. It was like, this is a lot of stuff. So I was like, I'm just gonna sit down, re-outline everything, and do a new timeline, because for ages for my dad and I, like language stuff for me, mental stuff like inner monologue, I need to make sure everything matches for the proper age and time. And then for dogs that are in it, because my dad is a hound hunter, so he used dogs. I had to do a new timeline to make it easier for fixing everything and making sure everything is as truthful and as to the point as I can. I can link that video above where I did that. So I did that a couple weeks ago, but besides that, I haven't really worked on my books since March. At first, it was so hard to stay away from it. Like, all I wanted to do was start draft 3 after I reread and fixed like minor stuff for beta readers and sent it to them. After I finished draft 2, I like reread it, and then I was like, oh, this actually sounds like a book. It's so good. And I sent it to them, and all I wanted to do was work on it. And then I finally started getting feedback back, and I was like, actually took a step away reading it now, and I'm like, what was I seeing last read through? There's still a lot of stuff that needs to be done. But I think it's good to step away. You need to step away, and I think that was helpful for me. And why I've taken such a big break is April, I was waiting for feedback and didn't really get it yet. And then I went on vacation, which I can link that video above, because I was just refilling my creative well, taking that time while it was with the beta readers. And then we went right into May, and May is very busy for me because May is hunting season. Obviously, I'm writing a hunting memoir, so I hunt. I try not to talk about every single little detail because I know that's not everybody's thing, but I'm still just trying to share my journey of writing this, so I have to mix the two. But anyways, May is hunting season for me, so I spent every weekend of May hunting and camping with my family. I just love spending time with them, and I love being at camp. I went from working 4/10s Monday through Thursday, then I left for camp Thursday and would get home late Sunday and start all over. So you could see I didn't have a lot of time to do things. I did work on editing some videos while I was, you know, in the truck driving around. I did get some stuff done, but I haven't actually started draft 3 yet. We're gonna try and at least get myself to the point where I can almost start this weekend. It's kind of what my plan is. I'm on chapter 11, and there's 20 chapters, so I have 10 chapters still to read. So I have that to do, and then I'm gonna do the revision checklist like I mentioned, and for that I'm doing a chapter by chapter checklist of things I need to fix with this draft. So the plot stuff that my beta reader pointed out and that I restructured in my new outline that I made, those points. There's some character stuff for me, for especially the younger chapters, of fixing to make sure it matches my age. Maybe just making sure the setting and everything, there's enough of it or there's not too much of it, those sort of stuff. As I've been reading draft 2, I've been highlighting stuff so that when I do my revision checklist, I know what I'm looking for. So I'll have the highlighted stuff in the draft and then my revision checklist to both be working through so I don't miss anything. There's all that stuff in the draft, and then there's gonna be extra stuff in the checklist. So I just want to make sure I'm covering my bases. But like for me, yes, this is another big developmental edit, but I'm also trying to fix everything that I see at the moment. I've been highlighting chunks of paragraphs or sentences that kind of still sound a little funky when I'm reading it, so that I can tweak that, work on some of the prose a little bit more. Anything that I might still need to research, like certain words, I'm like, is this the right word? Is this spelled right? That sort of thing. Yeah, I have a lot of different things that I'm trying to fix as I go, and I just want to make sure that I have this revision checklist to make sure I don't miss anything else. You know, I have all these different pieces I'm trying to interconnect and fix at the same time. Did create a little checklist for myself. Draft 3 revision plan was to obviously reread the draft, make revision notes in my draft, make a revision checklist, and then start draft 3. I have to draft new words for a chapter that has like 3 different stories mashed in. I think I'm going to consider that drafting and then actually starting draft 3. So that's kind of like my revision plan. And then my revision notes for the draft as I've been reading it is red pen for spelling, grammar. I've been slashing stuff in Google Docs to remove, yellow highlight for the sentences and paragraphs that sound weird, and the pacing, I might throw the pacing off. That stuff just needs to be fixed. And then for pink highlight, character edits, green highlight, dialogue edits, purple highlight, plot edits, and then blue is for inner monologue, and then orange I added at the last minute for show don't tell, so more description stuff, which I think I have been doing more as yellow, so I think that's a little bit of both for that one. But anyways, that's kind of what I've been doing with this. I just wanted to take you guys through the weekend of me rereading this draft and making that revision checklist. I've just been using this channel to document my journey of writing, revising, and hopefully eventually publishing my hunting memoir, and so this is part of that process. If you have any questions as you go through the video, please feel free to drop them below. I'm going to try to take you through as I make that revision checklist, but if I don't get into certain details that you might want to ask about, feel free to ask them. But I think we're just going to jump right in, otherwise I'm going to just sit here and talk your ear off. I'm going to start reading chapter 11. I am on a live stream and probably will be live streaming off and on all day today. You might see me reading and watching live streams, or just watching live streams and hanging out with them while I'm reading, and then I will actually walk you guys through the revision checklist, and then any other updates that come up I'll stop and say whatever I need to. I will talk to you guys in a little bit, and let's just get into it. Okay guys, I finished reading draft 2 finally. It just took me all day. It's literally like 8:45 and I just finished. So if that tells you anything about how much I was procrastinating throughout the day, I took a lot of TikTok breaks, was on a couple of live streams, and I usually end up chatting half the time with that. But it did help break up the day a little bit. Anyways, I pushed through the end, finished reading my whole book and annotating it. I did have to go back and fix a couple things on the table of contents of the chapters that I had taken out already. Added the one that I need to actually write, so I had to do those sort of edits. There were some names that I had caught that were misspelled, so I had to go and fix that stuff. Hopefully that's all figured out, but I also made sure to add it to the revision checklist so that like in the future, when I'm doing this next draft 3, I can catch those sort of things. Tomorrow I'm actually gonna do my revision checklist. I just have had a running like checklist basically since I finished draft 2 and was rereading it before I sent it to beta readers. So it's not like my actual full revision checklist, it's just notes that I've found as I'm rereading the document the first time, and now this time I'm going to start a whole new document and go chapter by chapter and list out what I need to fix. So that's what we're gonna do tomorrow. But my camera battery is flashing at me, so, and my dog's staring at me, so she might need to go outside. I am going to sign out for the night, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Okay guys, it is now Sunday, and I did actually already start my revision checklist. So I did finish chapter 1, and I just went through and put everything in there. The biggest thing for me is that I have so many documents that I am pulling from, and that is kind of why I'm creating this revision checklist, because there's so much going on. I have my beta reader copy of my draft 2, and then I have draft 3 prep document that I started to put all my annotation notes in and all of that stuff. So I have 2 separate full book documents that I'm pulling notes into here. And then I have my plot point revised outline that I did, so I'm pulling that into here as well. Also had started a checklist already with things that I had mentioned when I was rereading the document before I sent it to my beta readers, so I had some notes from there. Not all of them might be relevant anymore. I'm still like pulling from that as well. I just wanted to make sure I had concise notes in this checklist to make it easier for draft 3, because draft 2 I was not very prepared. I basically had read and annotated draft 1, which was all printed out, but then I did not move any of these notes into my Scrivener. I did not make a checklist. I did not make a plan. I just jumped right in, and like sometimes I'd bring my notes from the annotated draft into Scrivener and like fix all that stuff, but I kind of just basically did a full reread and didn't reuse any of the notes or anything that I had made when I started draft 2. So that was a big mess, and so I'm trying to be a little bit more organized with draft 3. So that's why I'm doing this chapter by chapter revision checklist. I did do chapter 1 like I said, and I just went through, pulled all of these different things from different documents. The first thing was the plot, because I'm fixing the whole plot of my book, so I put that in there. And then character stuff, I just want to make sure that the protagonist and the antagonist, so myself and my dad, all of our motivations, you know, our background and everything is clear in this chapter. And then want to add more interiority. I try to push it through with my inner monologue, I think is the problem, and so I need to work on that a lot better and not just try to push it through with the inner monologue. So that was another thing I added in there for chapter 1. And then, as a beta reader pointed out, and I've talked about in my last few videos, like along with my plot, she felt like the intro didn't start in the right place. And I get it, because I've read book comps that had like intros with hunts that were too slow or started with a prologue that didn't pull you in. And so I think she's right that I need to start like mid-action. So I put in the revision checklist document that for chapter 1 I need to find the true opening. So that'll be probably a big rewrite for the beginning of my chapter. And then I think with that I also added that I want to add more at the end to fill in the first half of the chapter that I take out, and just to fill in the extra plot points that aren't in this chapter yet. Those are some of the big things. And then the minor things that I've added in here are just to check my bases, because when I went through and read draft 2, I highlighted the dialogue, inner monologue, show don't tell, and then the chunks that don't make sense, and then anything character wise. So I think those sort of things I'll probably just copy and paste into each chapter on my revision checklist, just to make sure that when I'm doing draft 3 that I'm covering all of my bases, because I am going to be working out of the highlighted document for draft 3, but I just want to make sure I still am getting everything that needs to be done for draft 3 done and not miss anything. So that did get added to the checklist as well. Just have to go through the next 19 of them and then I'll be done with the checklist. So I'm gonna go through all those that I can before my fiance and I have a date night. We're gonna go watch a movie, and then if I have time when I'm done with that and I didn't finish, I'll finish up tonight. But my goal is to finish before we go. We're going about 4 and it's 1 o'clock. I have 3 hours to get 19 chapter notes added. I think I can do it. The biggest thing is just no jumping around between so many different documents. So I'm going to do that now and stop rambling, and I will see you guys in a little bit. Okay guys, I just had to do a quick update. I'm sorry if you can hear our air conditioning system in the background because it is warm. It is 90 degrees today and it's supposed to be like 95 tomorrow. Like it's the first real weekend of June. The weather needs to chill. But anyways, I did not finish this yet and I need to eat and then we're gonna go to the movies. So I will either check in with you later tonight or tomorrow and finish this up. I got to chapter 11, so I should start chapter 12 when I see you guys again, and I will talk to you then. Okay guys, I finished the revision checklist finally. It is almost 8:30, but I did finish it. It's a little over 4,000 words, so quite a bit for just a day's work. I mean, there was a couple of chunks that I kind of moved from each chapter so that it was the same thing in each chapter, but I did end up going in, especially with the last like 10 or so chapters, added one paragraph that was basically an intro to that story because I felt like some of them needed it, or maybe I needed it in my mind, so I added that on there. So there was a lot of extra words in that itself, but it's done finally. There was another thing that I did come up with to add to each one, like I'd mentioned with that very first one I walked you guys through, and that is watch my sentences starting with "and" to work on this next draft, because my mom pointed that out a few times, and the draft that she read did add that as well to each chapter to make sure I'm paying attention. I think the biggest thing is that for me it's part of my voice, and I feel like I need to break that rule for writing, but I have to make sure that if I'm doing it, that I'm doing it well and not just doing it just to do it and not to clean up my prose. So that is something else I added. I think the last few chapters were actually a lot easier than I was expecting. The first chunk was pretty hefty, and that is what took me the longest to read too. That's fun. And then there was the one chapter that I couldn't really even add notes on because I haven't written it yet, so that was fun. But I did kind of give myself that intro paragraph for it and mentioned that I need to write it, I think in red. Yeah, write the chapter slash maybe multiple. It depends on how long it ends up being, because there is 3 stories to kind of roll into the chapter, and I don't need to tell each story to the full extent, just the parts and pieces that fit into this. I gotta figure out how to work that out and how long it's actually gonna be, if it's gonna be, you know, a part 1, part 2 chapter. One chapter is part 1 and the next chapter is part 2, so I might end up doing that. I'm not sure yet. I'd have to actually write it first. That is, I think, the biggest chunk that will need to be worked on next is that. So I'm gonna be doing that the weekend of like the 21st, June 21st, I think it's June 21st, 22nd or something like that. This coming weekend, the 13th is my birthday, and I might be in southern Idaho hunting with my dad and my brothers. It just depends on how they do, and they're already down there. And I actually need to write this chapter, which is down there in that area when we were hunting. I think it'll be awesome research if I do get the chance to go down there. I already have Thursday, Friday off of work. I was hoping to get off early Wednesday, but my boss has been off the last week, so she hasn't seen that request. So we'll see if I'm going down there or not, but I feel like that'd be a really good opportunity for some research for this upcoming drafting phase of these few stories, and then maybe even create some more stories I can add in a future book or to the blog I just started this weekend too. So that's fun. Anyways, I will not be writing next weekend obviously because I will have birthday stuff going on and potentially be hunting in southern Idaho, but I will be writing that next weekend, that 21st-ish, whatever days those are. I think I'm gonna do either the 24-hour writing challenge like by myself and maybe split up between 2 12-hour days, something I think that weekend, to catch myself up with that drafting. So I think it'd be perfect to line up if I do go hunting next weekend, do all that research and have a fun experience and maybe create some more stories to tell, but then to turn around that next weekend and to draft these stories that are located in that place. So I think that'd be really awesome, and I'm really hoping that works out. So that is my plan going forward for the next few weekends. After I finish drafting this new chunk of words I need to do, then I will officially start draft 3. I mean, you could technically call this draft 3 because I am, you know, reworking and I'm actually writing now, so I don't really want to consider it draft 3 because I actually want to revise this as well. So I might, you know, take the week off and then come back and read that chapter and then actually add the notes into this revision checklist, see what I need to fix when I actually do all the fixes and revisions for draft 3. So that's kind of the blueprint for the next few weeks and the next draft. I do think I'm going to print this off, but I'll probably wait until I finish drafting that chapter and leave my revision notes in this checklist. But currently, I did mention it's over 4,000 words, but it's also 12 pages, so that'll be a fun thing to print out. It's not as big as my hefty book that I printed out. I might just staple and keep, you know, right here at my desk, and I can take that wherever and then crossing things off as I go for draft 3. That's the plan. I don't know if I'll actually, you know, do it or not. We'll see. I can be a little impulsive, so I could do all this work and then not use it, but I'm going to do it because I did nothing for draft 2 and I'm going to do it for draft 3. That is what's going on, and I think I'm going to sign out now because it's 8:30 like I said, so I actually want to relax before I have to go to bed and start another day of work. I appreciate it if you stuck to the end. I did kind of ramble on a little bit here and there, but I finished my reread for draft 2 and made my revision checklist for draft 3 and kind of have just implemented my own plan for the future. I'm going to move my sticky notes on my cork board of those 2 things that I just finished, so I'm going to move those 2 things over over, close my office down, and take the week to kind of do some other things, and then hopefully go camping / hunting this weekend for research purposes. And that'd be like a write-off. Research purposes, camping, hunting. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to drop any questions you have in the comments below, or feel free to leave this emoji below. But thanks for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. I will see you next time.